Asian markets were higher Tuesday after another day of gains on Wall Street. Hong Kong's benchmark fall.
Good morning.
Here at home Monday.
Need to work on the angle of this.
Familiar ringleaders.
There we go.
And Supermicro Computer again pulling the market higher.
All right, got to find some sports stories here. Sports scores.
For the year after Monday's more than 3% gain.
And
192%.
What the heck am I going to talk about?
The market has been swinging.
What are we going to announce?
At the end of March, it's on for weeks on fears that stubbornly high inflation would prevent or at least delay the Fed Reserve from delivering
Spring home show
interest rates that Wall Street craves. But markets found a burst of optimism at the end of last week following a cooler than expected job report. It suggested that the economy could
New Costco ribbon cutting,
staying strong enough to
shipping away childhood cancer golf tournament
puts too much upward pressure on inflation. Reach out to me anytime across the board on social media at Matt Ray Talk. You're listening to America's First News.
America's First News. We'll be right back.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our healthcare. This is why so many people are joining MediShare right now. MediShare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses.
Let's talk about that. Shipping away.
Shipping
away at childhood cancer.
$500 a month.
Child Keaton's
MediShare works.
27th annual Keaton's Child Cancer Alliance.
$5 billion.
I need to find something to shout out the weather
different
to
options to
as
choose
well.
from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second, and if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes.
National Teachers Day today. Gonna have a guest in. Always fun to have a guest.
855 share 40. That's 855 SHARE 855 share 40.
And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, May 7th. It is 14 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:14 a.m. And good morning to you, Grass Valley. Currently 41 degrees where you're at right now. Looking for a high today. Very nice. 64 degrees. All right, let's turn it over now, as we do, to the Fox Business Report.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Okay, Thursday, May 23rd, the Ridge Golf Course and Event Center in Auburn. Come golf and support families in our region fighting childhood cancer. For more information, contact Jessica at 916-757-6134 or jessica.alonzo@childcancer.org. Oh, that's an unfortunate email. Childcancer.org. The Ultimate Golfer Package Tournament prizes sponsorship opportunities to reserve your foursome. Unique ways to promote your shotgun start at 10 a.m. Registration open at 8:30 a.m. Come golf and support families in our region fighting childhood cancer. Thank you to our 24. Okay. The 27th annual Keaton's Child Cancer Awareness Child Cancer Alliance, chipping away at childhood cancer. All proceeds benefit children fighting cancer in our region. Golf tournament. It's Thursday, May 23rd.
Get all your home projects done
All
well,
right.
inside to outside, repairs to renovations.
You
Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today.
can
You can do this when you Angie that.
You can see them at night, and every day they steal from you.
Okay, what's good? Sunshine Day. I don't know about that. Yeah, we're gonna have a good day.
Today, brought to you by Pioneer Community Energy.
16 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:16 a.m. Hey, let's talk about another event for the calendar. It's the 27th annual Keaton's Child Cancer Alliance, chipping away at childhood cancer. It's a golf tournament. All proceeds and benefits. Oh my goodness. They benefit children fighting cancer in our region. It's going to be Thursday, May 23rd at the Ridge Golf Course and Event Center in Auburn. It's going to be a shotgun start at 10 a.m. Registration opens at 8:30 a.m. There's the Ultimate Golfer Package and Tournament prizes. Come golf and support families in our region fighting childhood cancer. Again, it's the 27th annual Keaton's Child Cancer Alliance, chipping away at childhood cancer. All proceeds benefit children fighting cancer in our region. Again, it's Thursday, May 23rd. It's going to be at the Ridge Golf Course and Event Center here in Auburn. Shotgun start at 10 a.m. I learned at a golf tournament last year. I didn't know what a shotgun start was. I didn't know that you didn't start right at the first hole. They had to tell me you get assigned a hole and you start there. Not everybody starts at the first one, which makes sense. Registration opens at 8:30 a.m. For more information, you can contact Jessica at 916-757-6134 or email jessica.alonzo@childcancer.org. Again, 27th Annual Keaton's Child Cancer Alliance, chipping away at childhood cancer golf tournament, May 23rd. Contact Jessica at 916-757-6134 or jessica.alonzo@childcancer.org. Back with more after this.
To have been voted Auburn's best plumbing company and best heating and cooling company in Auburn Journal's Best of Auburn promotion. We're very proud to have placed as runner-up in electrical category as well. Our technicians are experienced.
Yeah, that was
if you have
close.
an issue with your plumbing, need a whole house generator, or maybe your furnace isn't working, give ABT a call. Reach us at 530-230-9004 for excellent service. It really is as easy as ABT.
Lindsay's Cleaning Services is an award-winning residential and commercial cleaning service. They've been voted best house cleaning service.
What's up
best
next?
customer service,
Sports ball?
And best place to work in Collegeville, Rockland, Loomis, Colfax, Folsom, even on Hills. Mention KAHI and get 10% off your first cleaning service. Give them a call and find out why they are voted best of the best.
Okay, here we go.
Call
Music ready?
745-4227 or check out IJustWantItClean.com.
Coming up in our next segment, sports ball. Also weather. Off now to America's First News. I'll see you back here at the bottom of the hour.
America's First News continues. It is the 7th day of May. And Australia has protested to Beijing through multiple channels that a Chinese fighter jet endangered an Australian Navy helicopter with flares over international
Let's talk
waters.
about Placer Lions wins FVL Singles Championship. Record run. Colfax Senior Jade Bidner broke the school record in the 400-meter dash Thursday.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
We have made very strong
Thursday with a time of 58.7. Bittner's impressive finish won her the Pioneer League Championship in the event.
Australian Defence Force personnel were going about their job. Their job in international waters, but also
All right, that's what we're going to talk about. That'll be going. Okay, off now to rehearse the news. Back after this.
Against the North Korean regime. That is part of Australia being good global citizens. And Australian Defence Force personnel should not be at risk whilst they're doing that. So we have a very clear position there.
The Prime Minister said the encounter would be raised with Chinese Premier Li Kang when he visits Australia next month. It was the most serious encounter between the two nations' forces since Australia accused the Chinese destroyer of injuring Australian Navy divers with sonar pulses in Japanese waters in November. China maintains that that encounter happened outside Japanese territorial waters and that the Chinese warship caused it no harm. A Monday deadline for pro-Palestinian protesters to leave an encampment at Massachusetts Institute of Technology cleared many demonstrations, only to have the site retaken, while protesters at the Rhode Island School of Design began occupying a building in the ongoing protest movement connected to the Israel-Hamas war. At MIT, protesters were given an afternoon deadline in which to voluntarily leave or face suspension. Many left, according to an MIT spokesperson. Elsewhere, a large group of faculty members from the University of Chicago defended a pro-Palestinian student encampment, saying it's been peaceful and non-disruptive.
The same solidarity with the people of Gaza unites the peaceful protesters who have camped here on the quad for the last 7 days. These are non-violent protesters, and they are our students. We call on President Alivisatos to find an alternative to police violence and to continue negotiating. We support the protesters' central demands that the university divest its endowment and that it suspend its formal cooperation with Israeli institutions. We don't want them getting beat up just because they're camping on the lawn.
The university must not employ police force to put an end to student protests. To do so would violate the university's duty to protect its students, as well as their right to free expression.
The protest has become a campaign issue as President Joe Biden runs for re-election. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna is hosting a series of listening sessions with students from different universities focused on re-electing Biden. He told CBS's Margaret Brennan that protests have not become a distraction from the message.
I think the president should and will get out there on campuses. I
He
think,
gets shouted down Genocide Joe when he goes to events.
and look, that's part of protest. I condemn any protest that incites violence or that is anti-Semitic. As someone whose grandfather spent 4 years in jail with Gandhi, I mean, the whole point of Satyagraha was non-violent protest. But we have to understand that this is a defining moment for this generation, similar to anti-Vietnam protests, anti-apartheid protests, anti-Iraq war protests. And they're telling us that over 30,000 people have died. It's time for this war to end. It's time for the hostages to be released that Hamas has. And they want to see leadership in America and around the world. This is not the world that they want.
Well, the president, though, has said the protests aren't making him change his policy. He is unequivocally pro-Israel. It was a month ago he said something had to change or U.S. policy would. Do you expect any change in U.S. policy as a result?
I do, and I slightly disagree. I think the protests and the larger movement have had the president change. I mean, you look at the president now talking about some of the consequences that could have on Netanyahu, the Erez Canal. Look, everyone from the president on down is aware that young people are upset at what's going on in the Middle East. And I do think it's had an awakening in Washington that this war has to end.
Arrests continued over the weekend. At the University of Virginia, there were 25 Saturday for trespassing after police clashed with protesters who refused to leave. At the Art Institute of Chicago campus, police cleared a pro-Palestinian encampment hours after it was set up Saturday and arrested 68 people, saying they would be charged with criminal trespass. After announcing last week that she would call for a motion to vacate the Speaker of the House, Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene met with Mike Johnson on Monday. Emerging from a nearly 2-hour meeting inside his office, Greene did not say when she'd bring the motion.
I have been patient, I have been diligent, I have been steady, and I've been focused on the facts. And none of that has changed. So I just had a long discussion with the Speaker in his office about ways to move forward for a Republican-controlled House of Representatives. We're talking to him again tomorrow based on our discussion today, and I'll have more information.
The Georgia Congresswoman said last week she was moving ahead with her ouster effort despite pushback from many Republicans and a statement from Democrats that they would step in to save Johnson. Republican Representative Dan Crenshaw.
She needs her time in the spotlight. You know, it's been a little while, and the one last ditch effort to get a little attention is what she's looking for. There's not a lot of support for this. I really don't know how many members would actually vote for it. I do know it won't pass. I think that's been made pretty clear. There's a very, very large and strong majority that will table the motion, meaning it's just it just reverses it, so we don't even vote on it. And it's based in what exactly? That Mike Johnson brought bills to the floor that were necessary for our national security that the vast majority of members wanted to vote on. So allowing the democratic process to move forward, our process that we have in our Constitution to move forward is apparently the crime of the century, according to these people, which warrants a motion to vacate. Here's the problem. It's happened with McCarthy too. And they say that they're siding with Democrats about this uniparty. The real uniparty, by the way, is very clearly between the far left and the far right. And if they have their way, based on the votes they take, this is what would happen. We would have no military, it would be defunded. We'd have no government, it would also be defunded. We'd have no intelligence agencies. We wouldn't be able to collect intelligence on our adversaries, foreign spies, terrorists, what have you. And they'd let Putin win in Ukraine and be on the border of former NATO countries. So just to lay out the reality of what their voting record would actually be. It's not a good one. And so they're so mad about that they want a motion to vacate the speaker. Now, what they do is they make it impossible for the speaker to actually have leverage over Democrats and get things that we want, like border security. Marjorie Taylor Greene has never tried to lay out a plan to get border security done along with the supplemental package. I've done that. I worked for months to do that. A lot of us did. She has never. Tom Massey has never done anything on that front. She's never written
All
any
right.
legislation.
Here we go.
Or anything to do with border security. A lot of us have. It's making it impossible for us to have any level.
Let's see what we got in the mail. KAHI News Department. Hey, that's me.
When they can't
Placer County regular meeting agenda final call to order Pledge of Allegiance. What is this? Sheridan Municipal Advisory Council. Am I supposed to get this? Welcome and introduction of members. Approval of January 10th. Public comment. Let's hear from you. Do you wish to share something that's not already on this agenda? Reports. Public safety. Cal Fire. What is this? Placer County of Placer Sheridan Municipal.
Medicare's go broke.
This is on full wide. Oh, this is how the domes.
Was pushed back 5 years to 2036 in the latest report.
Is this the?
Thanks in part to higher payroll tax income.
Wait a minute.
Lower than projected.
Is this the
expenses from
supervisors?
last year. Meanwhile, Social Security's trust
6
fund,
p.m.
which
Wednesday,
covers
May
old
8th.
age and
Oh,
disability
it's tomorrow.
recipients, will be unable to pay full
Can't make
benefits beginning in 2035 instead of last year's estimate of 2034.
We'll discuss the dissolution of the MAC committees in compliance with the Brown Act. Christina, Fire Chief of Staff, Board of Supervisor, District 2, Bickford Ranch Project update. Oh, wait. Does that mean I have Jim in tomorrow? Ooh, MAC committees, county service area, zone, sewer and water, parks and recreation, mosquito
Now,
abatement.
time for another Otis advice.
Local government reports, City of Lincoln and Placer County. What is the font that they're using on this? Well, your input is time at this time, and kindly ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, or as determined by the MAC chair. Correspondence from MAC. What does MAC stand for? Municipal Advisory Council. Oh, Municipal Advisory Council. This is composed of appointed community members whose purpose is to advise the Board of Supervisors. Oh, they advise the Board of Supervisors about activities and problems of the area represented. Residents are encouraged to participate and talk about issues important to them. More info at placer.ca.gov. All right, so that's that. Cool. And this is, I'm guessing, a report that I get, but I have no idea what to do with it. It's building activity for the month of April 2024 in the city of Auburn. What the heck am I supposed to do with that? All right, here we go. And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, May 7th. It is 30 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:30 a.m. And hey, good morning to you, Colfax. Currently 42 degrees where you're at right now. Looking for a high today. Very nice, 65 degrees over there. And hey, there's the sports ball music. Let's get right into it right now. We're going to start on the hardwood. It's the NBA. It is the postseason. We're going to start on the east side of the country. This is the semifinals, game one. New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. Knicks win that one, 121-117. New York leads the series 1-0. Timberwolves versus the Nuggets. This is on the west side of the country. Semifinals, game two. Timberwolves win that one, 106-80. Minnesota leads the series 2-0. Heading over to the MLB. It's a good day for baseball yesterday, except for the Giants. They lost to the Phillies 6-1. Tigers versus the Guardians. The Guardians win that one 2-1. Angels versus the Pirates. Pirates win that one 4-1. White Sox versus the Rays. Rays win that one 8-2. Padres versus the Cubs. Padres win that one 6-3. A's versus the Rangers. Rangers win that one 4-2. If you heard that on KAHI yesterday, well, you can hear game two of that series. The A's are playing this one at home versus the Texas Rangers. That's today. Ooh, we've got an afternoon game today. So radio start time is 11:55 a.m. this morning. First pitch is at 12:37 this afternoon. Ooh, going to be a nice day out there. Again, A's are playing the Rangers. You can hear that here on KAHI. Today, 11:55 a.m. is the radio start time. First pitch is at 12:30. I love it. 12:37. What, 12:40, 12:45? No, 12:37 is going to be the start time there. You can hear the A's again here on KAHI. Going locally here, I've got the Auburn Journal in my hand. Here's a record run. We're going to head to Colfax. Colfax senior Jade Bittner broke the school record in the 400-meter dash Thursday with a time of 58.79 seconds. Bittner's impressive finish won her the Pioneer Valley League championship in the event. So Colfax senior Jade Bittner broke the school record in the 400-meter dash on Thursday with a time of 58.79 seconds. Congratulations, Jade, on your win there. We'll be back with your KAHI weather right after this. "33 minutes past the top of the hour, 6:33 a.m. Coming up in our next segment, we'll have your California Ag Report, also a local event. Next hour, during the Meddlers meeting, our own Jerry Henry is going to be the guest speaker for today. Excited to hear about that. Jerry's going to talk about the history of KAHI, maybe a little bit about what the future of KAHI looks like. I am going to be tuning in. I hope you will too. Again, next hour is the Meddlers meeting. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, I'm going to have Martin Brown. Marty Brown is going to join me. He is a local teacher here. He's been in the school system for a long time. On this National Teachers Day, we're going to talk about what it's like to be a teacher, maybe some of the challenges teachers face, also some of the wins that teachers have on this National Teachers Day. He was nominated by the Seroptimists as the Teacher of the Year around here. Excited to talk to Martin here in a little bit. Back now to America's First News. I'll see you back here in just a bit. That was a good promo, thought, for Jerry. All right, next segment is 5 minutes. Traffic report, nothing to report. We'll do the...
The National Weather Service issued a tornado emergency alert Monday night for the nearby towns of Bartlesville, Dewey, and Harmsville. That's where a large tornado destroyed toppled trees and power lines.
Back after this.
Hundreds gathered at the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte to memorialize Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks Jr., who, along with 3 other law enforcement officers, died in a Charlotte neighborhood shootout April 29th. Between speeches by those close to Weeks and mournful acoustic folk songs, the officer was remembered not only for his commitment to his job, but also his love for those around him. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
No matter what he was doing, whether it was serving a warrant, protecting the courthouse, or carrying out an extradition in Poland or Colombia, he gave everything he had to make sure the task was done right. He was dependable, reliable, resilient, and passionate about serving his community. Our U.S. Marshals reflect the very best of what a public servant should be: dedicated, selfless, and courageous. That is what Tommy did. That is what Tommy was. And that is how he lived his life. And that is how he always will be remembered. As we remember Tommy Weeks today, and in the days and years ahead, may we never stop working to fulfill the mission to which he dedicated his life.
Weeks was one of 4 officers killed last week while attempting to serve a warrant of felony possession of a firearm to a suspect at a Charlotte home. Officers shot and killed the wanted man, 39-year-old Terry Clark Hughes Jr., during a 3-hour standoff. Weeks was the second laid to rest after friends and colleagues and the wife of fallen Charlotte Mecklenburg officer Joshua Iyer remembered him Friday. He was killed as he rushed to help his fallen comrades, leaving behind his wife Ashley Iyer and their nearly 3-year-old son, Andrew.
There's nothing more important in this world than our families. Despite the never-ending positives I have to say about Josh's work ethic, what I'm most proud of is the father and husband I knew he would be. I know Andrew is too young to understand, but best believe we'll let him know the true hero his father was.
For 10 years, Josh and I built a beautiful life. It's cliche, but I know the reason our love is so special is because he is and always will be my very best friend. Joshua, thank you for giving me a beautiful life and for a beautiful son. We won't let you down, okay? I love you so much, Sunshine. I'll see you soon.
It was the deadliest shooting against law enforcement officers since 2016 when a sniper shot 5 officers at a Dallas protest. Regular mammograms to screen for breast cancer should start younger, at age 40, according to an influential U.S. task force. Women ages 40 to 74 should get screened every other year. Previously, the task force had said women could choose to start breast cancer screening as young as 40, with a stronger recommendation that they get the exams every 2 years from age 50 through 74. The announcement from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force makes official a draft recommendation announced last year. The recommendations were published in the Journal of American Medical Association. Turning to sports, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, led by Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, overpowered the Denver Nuggets Monday in an efficient 106-80 thrashing of the reigning NBA champions. Anthony Towns on their dominating performance without their best defensive player, Rudy Gobert, who was not with the team while celebrating the birth of his son.
You know, when you don't got the defensive player of the year, you got to step your game up. So we all understood the challenge coming in against the defending champions. A really, really good team with some of the best players we've ever seen. So we understood the challenge. We just wanted to come here and find a way to win the game.
Now, for the first time in 20 years, you get to go home in the second round and play in front of your fans. What do you expect that environment to be? What are you looking forward to?
Minnesota's been jumping all year. So I expect nothing less when we get there on Friday. It's going to be one heck of a game. I think the fans are going to really enjoy it.
Cat making the comments to TNT's Ali LaForce. Towns and Edwards both scored 27 points as the Wolves improved to 6-0 in these playoffs and gave themselves a chance to close out the fuming Nuggets with wins Friday night and Sunday in Minneapolis. Frustrated by their slow starts, the Nuggets have trailed by double digits in 6 of their 7 playoff games and 9 in the other. Coach Mike Malone challenged his team to get off to a strong start for once.
They kicked their ass. So yeah, it got away from us. Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. The body language of our guys, is not where I think it needs to be. But we just got beat up in our building. We got embarrassed in front of our fans. The good thing is we don't play till Friday. We have a chance to kind of get away and think about what we want to do moving forward. And I'm not worried about anything other than trying to win Game 3, and really just trying to win the first quarter of Game 3. And build it from there, take it one quarter at a time. I think it was a 4-point game late in that first. They closed 4-0. Now we're down 8, and then they started off the second quarter 11-0. And that's when the game got away from us.
The Nuggets, who lost consecutive games just once during the season, find themselves needing to beat Anthony Edwards 4 times in 5 tries to advance to the Western Conference Finals again. And Jalen Brunson had 43 points, becoming the 4th player in NBA history with 4 straight 40-point games in the postseason. And the New York Knicks beat the Indiana Pacers 121-117 Monday night at the Garden. Brunson had 21 in the 4th quarter, rallying the Knicks after they trailed by 9 early in the second period, joining Hall of Famers Jerry West, who had 6 consecutive 40-point games in the postseason, and Michael Jordan and Bernard King, both with 4.
I don't know. We just find a way. No matter what it is, we just give each other confidence to make sure we can get the job done. So it's nothing in particular. It's just a group of guys that we have. We all just give each other confidence and move forward together. Yeah, the 40 points are cool and all, but it's the little things that help us win games like that. And so I'm just happy to have the group of guys that I do. And I just know that we're going to fight every single day. And then that's all I'm really thinking about.
Miles Turner had 23 points for the Pacers, who got strong play from their bench and were in good shape to follow their first-round ouster of Milwaukee by jumping to the lead against the Knicks. Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle was not happy with a late offensive foul call on Turner.
I don't want to talk about the officiating. We're not expecting to get calls in here. It'd be nice if they laid off that one, but they didn't. So that's just the way it goes. I mean, we challenged it, they reviewed it, they got a bunch of people in New Jersey that agreed with them. So that's just the way it goes. So we got to learn from that too. That's a timing play. This is New York's pattern. As the game goes on, they get stronger with rebounding and they crash harder and harder. And so, we talked about it coming in. It's something that is a major factor. And so, we had opportunities to come up with balls we didn't come up with. And in a game that's a one possession game, it makes the difference.
Josh Hart added a playoff career high 24 points and 13 rebounds and 8 assists. The number 2 seeded Knicks will host Game 2 on Wednesday. And Boston goalie Jeremy Swayman's brilliant postseason continues. He stopped 38 shots. Brandon Carlos scored a goal just a few hours after his wife gave birth to their son. And the Bruins topped the Panthers 5-1 in Game 1 of their second-round playoff series. Swayman's been in the net for all 5 of Boston's wins so far in these playoffs and was stellar yet again, just as he was against Toronto in a round 1 series that ended with a Game 7 overtime thriller on Saturday. He stopped all 7 shots he saw on Florida's 3 power plays, improving the best stats of any netminder so far in these playoffs. Shohei Ohtani launched his 4th home run in 3 games, and the LA Dodgers beat the Miami Marlins 6-3 Monday in Walker Buehler's first major league start in nearly 2 years. Ohtani became the first big leaguer to reach 11 homers this year when he crushed a fastball off Roderick Munoz and sent it 441 feet. Reach out to me anytime across the board on social media at Matt Ray Talk. More on the way. You're listening to America's First News.
America's First News.
Wayne Fireball, CPA and certified financial planner professional here, with more tips for fireproofing your money. The most commonly stated reason for investing is retirement. It's so prevalent that the word retirement is even featured prominently in many of our favorite savings vehicles.
Correct.
401k retirement plan, individual retirement account. It's great that we have the means, some sort of dedicated investment account. But don't forget that like every financial goal, retirement as a destination has 2 components.
Local traffic reports.
And target time frame. In other words, you need both a when and a how much before you have any real retirement.
Rockland,
this being sufficiently specific to either
75
element,
today.
and you'll never have real peace about having enough money as you would imagine. This is Wayne Fireball. Check out fireproofing.com for tips on setting and reaching your financial goals.
And good Tuesday morning to you. Tuesday, May 7th, 15 minutes to the top of the hour, 6:45 a.m. And hey, good morning to you, Loomis. Currently 49 degrees where you're at right now. Looking for a high today of 74 degrees. All right, let's talk about another event for the calendar. Yep, it's coming up here pretty quickly. It's the Auburn Home Show. That's going to be May 17th, 18th, and 19th. That's going to be a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. Friday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Chris, what the heck is going on at the Auburn Home Show? Why should I go? Well, I'll tell you why you should go. There's going to be a beer and a wine garden, if that's motivation for you. Beautiful landscaping, live demos, gardening tips. Have you seen the tiny house display? I know I say this every time, but if you haven't, you got to see it. It is absolutely fantastic what they can do with such a small space. There's going to be live demos, crafters corners. There's going to be live music. It's all at the Gold Country Fairgrounds. You can find out more at auburnhomeshows.com. Again, it's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's May 17th, 18th, and 19th. Local contractors, live seminars with experts, DIY projects, live demos, home improvement experts, marketplace for local crafts, live music. Now, here's the deal, gang. Admission is $8 general, $4 for seniors, but seniors on Friday, let me give you a little tip here. You get in for $3. Military and first responders are free all weekend. Again, it's happening at the Gold Country Fairgrounds. You can find out more at auburnhomeshows.com, auburnhomeshows.com. KAHI.com. Back with your California Ag Report right after this.
Here on FM 104.5 and AM 950. You can also find us on KAHI.com and the KAHI app. Remember, that's Radio Law Talk, 9 to noon every Saturday, right here on KAHI, AM and FM, the voice of the foothills.
With California Ag Today,
I'm Riley Ship.
This is the Ag Information Network. Good trade, fair trade, and more of it. That is the plea from dairy organizations advocating recently in Washington, D.C.
I admire her enthusiasm.
Trade Policy Director.
Trade Policy Director.
Trade Policy.
Seconds, Adam.
You are listening to the Ag Information Network. This has been California Ag Today with Haley Ship.
11 minutes to the top of the hour. Coming up at next hour, it's the Meddlers meeting, the Auburn Meddlers meeting. Special guest speaker this week, Jerry Henry, our KAHI's very own Jerry Henry's going to be there. He's going to be talking about the history of KAHI, maybe a little bit about the future of KAHI. I am going to tune in. I hope you will too. We'll hear it here next hour in the 7 o'clock hour. Back now to America's First News. See you back in just a bit.
Good Tuesday morning. America's First News continues. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese Tuesday called the recent deaths of 2 Australian surfers in Mexico a terrible tragedy.
Okay.
We need 2 Australian surfers and 1 American went missing last weekend. Thieves apparently killed the 3 who were on a surfing trip to Mexico's Baja Peninsula to steal their truck because they wanted their tires.
This is a terrible tragedy, and my heart goes out to have it to identify these wonderful young men. And they have been travelling in Mexico. We've been dealing with them through the Department of Foreign Affairs.
All right. Continuing now with KAHI News.
I've indicated that I wish to speak to them at an appropriate time of their choosing. This is a tragic incident, and to all of the family and the friends of these young Australians, I think the whole of Australia's thoughts are with you at this trivial time.
3 suspects are being held in connection with the case, which locals said was solved far more quickly than the disappearance of thousands of Mexicans. Jake and Kellett Robinson from Australia and American Jack Carter Ward were on a camping and surfing trip along the stretch of coast south of the city of Ensenada before they went missing last weekend. The Federal Aviation Administration says it's opened an investigation into Boeing after the beleaguered company reported that workers at a South Carolina plant falsified inspection records on certain 787 planes. Boeing said its engineers have determined that misconduct did not create an immediate safety of flight issue. In an email to Boeing's South Carolina employees on April 29th, Scott Stoker, who leads the 787 program, said a coworker observed an irregularity in a required test of the wing-to-body joint and reported it to his manager. Stoker wrote, after receiving the report, we quickly reviewed the matter and learned that several people had been violating company policies by not performing a required test, but reporting the work as having been completed. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem Monday continued dodging questions about claims that she made in her book No Going Back, including her meeting with Kim Jong-un, which is now being removed from the book. Noem keeps suggesting she's not the one who put it in the book.
Specifically, when you write in the book, I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. I'm sure he underestimated me. That, as I understand, is now being removed from the book at your request.
Yes, when I became aware of that, we changed the content, and the future editions will be adjusted. And I appreciate that. I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book. And at my request, they have looked at how
didn't happen.
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders. There's some that are in the book. There's some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book. Many of them actually.
Specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong-un and talking about him, and a specific memory. I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write?
I specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years. And over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed.
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not?
That's the answer that I have for you, is that it will be adjusted. And as soon as I became aware of it, that content was removed.
Noem appearing on CBS. She was aware of it before the book came out, as she read the book for the audio version. Noem doubled down on her decision to include the killing of her dog, which Noem was reportedly talked out of putting into her first book because of the backlash she's receiving now.
This is a humane matter. According to the American Veterinary Society, every state in the country has a law that allows what I did, and I was the purpose of telling
the humane way to
purpose of, yes, the purpose of telling the story was so that people would know I don't pass my responsibilities on to anybody else.
The White House weighed in Monday after Noem suggested President Joe Biden's dog Commander should be shot too. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
When we learned last week, obviously, like all of you in her book, that she killed her puppy, you heard me say that was very, very sad. We find her comments from yesterday disturbing. We find them absurd. And here, this is a country that loves dogs, and you have a leader talking about putting dogs down, killing them, and that's a disturbing statement to say. I would say to her is she probably should stop digging herself in a hole.
Former President Trump was reportedly disgusted by the story. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich says it likely disqualifies her from being Trump's vice president. Asian markets were higher Tuesday after another day of gains on Wall Street, although Hong Kong's benchmark faltered. Here at home Monday, tech stocks led the way with familiar ringleaders NVIDIA and Supermicro Computer again pulling the market higher. They've had a couple of hiccups recently, but a frenzy around AI has NVIDIA up 86% for the year after Monday's more than 3% gain, and Supermicro is up 192% after its gain of 6%. The market has been swinging since setting a record at the end of March. It's up for weeks on fears that stubbornly high inflation would prevent or at least delay the Fed Reserve from delivering the cuts to interest rates that Wall Street craves. But markets found a burst of optimism at the end of last week following a cooler than expected job report. It suggested that the economy could nail the tightrope walk of staying strong enough to avoid a bad recession, but not so firm that it puts too much upward pressure on inflation. The go-broke dates for Medicare and Social Security have been pushed back as an improving economy has contributed to changed projected depletion dates, according to the annual Social Security and Medicare Trustees Report Monday. Still, officials warn that policy changes are needed. Medicare's go-broke date for its hospital insurance trust fund was pushed back 5 years to 2036 in the latest report. thanks in part to higher payroll tax income and lower than projected expenses from last year. Meanwhile, Social Security's trust funds, which cover old age and disability recipients, will be unable to pay full benefits beginning in 2035 instead of last year's estimate of 2034. President Joe Biden recognized the United States Military Academy Monday with the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for beating other service academies in football. Army Depot, U.S. Navy,
Good morning. Good morning.
The college based
All right. Midler's meeting.
See
if they have the Zoom. Zoom
Delaware
workplace.
State University, one of Biden's favorite schools.
The Army Black Knights.
All right. Turn the camera off.
Today you're taking home West Point's 10th Commander-in-Chief trophy. You should be very proud. I want you to know I'm proud of you too. Not just for the wins, but not just for those forced turnovers, although they're impressive, Coach, but because every game after you hang up that uniform, you immediately put on another uniform, one representing the United States of America. Everyone on the stage stepped up to serve, to lead, to
It's
join.
also always the
A long line of
nerve-wracking.
American servicemen, each a link in the chain of honor in America. You represent the very best of who we are.
Let me in.
I'm confident that in years to come, you'll be willing to see the same toughness, tenacity, and camaraderie and accountability to our country that you brought to the field in every single game. So let me close with one brief final thought. Go Army.
The Air Force Falcons have won the trophy 21 times, compared with 16 for the Navy Midshipmen and 10 for the Army Black Knights. The competition among the service academies began in 1972. Reach out to me anytime across the board on social media at Matt Ray Talk. You've got America's first news on this Tuesday.
Come on, Amy.
It is the 7th day of May. Grab the coffee.
Let me in.
And let's go.
Breaking news first.
Let's go.
America's first news with Matt Ray.
Reimagine everyday.
Good morning.
Toys for the holiday season.
Thanks for the comment.
Available at all major retailers. Bitsy.
Mr. Radio.
Really touch. Reacts to your swipes.
That's what it says on my business card.
Touch and grows in response to kids' love and care. For more pet fun, discover Hatchimals Alive. Pets that kids hatch in water and care for in the Hatchie Nursery. Friendship bracelet fans will love the cool.
This is always nerve-wracking.
Bracelet maker.
They
DIY bracelet kit featuring a fun and easy pop-on beat system.
take their sweet time, or they're trying to figure out the
Pull off epic
technology.
stunts with the Monster Jam Mega Grave Digger Trax RC that can conquer any terrain, including snow, grass, dirt, and water. Last but not least, preschool fans of the series Paw Patrol will want to get their paws on the Paw Patrol Mighty Movie Aircraft Carrier HQ so they can recreate their favorite scenes from the new film. Play with the hottest toys from Spin Master.
FM 104.5.
Okay.
KCM, Auburn.
Still haven't let me in yet.
KAHR, Auburn.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Collins. Parts of Oklahoma and Kansas slammed by powerful storms overnight. Tornadoes cutting a path of destruction north of Tulsa. A large hail battered parts of Kansas. The Storm Prediction Center's Roger Edwards says the threat not over yet.
Kansas, western Missouri are in the clear, but eastern.
Oh yeah.
And,
Somebody from Roseville's fine.
central and eastern Missouri still have.
Friday. Hang on a second.
In Barnesville, Oklahoma, the twister wrecked homes and businesses. It's blamed for at least one death there. Here, the death toll could rise.
There we go. Do we have sound? Tell me we have sound.
All right, it's 7 a.m. right on the dot, and guess what? For like the first time maybe in a month, the computer works before 7 a.m., so we are good. Earl, would you lead us in the pledge this morning? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Yes, somebody from Roseville is fine. That's awesome.
Well, good morning and happy Tuesday, everybody. Hopefully you're having a great start to the week. Can't beat this weather after
at least in my house, we had 1.5 inches of hail on Saturday, and today I'm a little bit sunburned. So I don't know how quickly the seasons change, but Mike, I think you have some opening comments to lead us out this morning. Go ahead.
The wealthiest zip code in the greatest Sacramento, Colorado, now.
Yeah, I'll tell time in just a minute. I just got to see when this is going to start. Hang on a second. I'll figure that out.
Grant Bay. You're right.
Pull up the calendar here. Let's do. Let's do 740, and then I'll have Mary Jane on at 8.
A little younger than this room this morning, but
You gotta ask how the affordable housing elements work out. Hey, you just gotta ask. Then there are figures for improvements, Roseville, Denver, and Rockland, and Newcastle. Newcastle, the median income is 117,000. Population 5,974. 2,274 households. Per capita income 57,000. Value $786,000.
All right. Move it along, Daniel. Let's go. Let's get to it. It's one of those times when somebody has the floor and you gotta like find a way to get it back. This guy's running away with it. Oh, somebody's not on mute.
well, that's because we are humble in Auburn, and I guess our median house prices and all that for just people. But thank you for that update. Okay, well, we'll leave it to Jonathan to talk more about Auburn home prices and what he's doing to help this community. Mike, thanks. Anything else this morning?
Don't send it to him. Dear God.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that Green Acres had a run on tomato plants on Sunday. Everyone having to replace them. But Mike, thanks for that update. With that, why don't we go ahead and we'll start with the county this morning. And so I'll turn it over to our county supervisor, Miss Cindy Gustafson.
Medical talk show that answers your questions on the
And 5 minutes past the top of the hour, 7:05 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the voice of the foothills. We're going to go ahead and cut in now. We're going to go over to the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to hear updates now from Placer County Supervisor, District 5, Cindy Gustafson. Let's go to the meeting now.
Nor was I. And this is the kickoff of Wildfire Preparedness Week. Yesterday, I attended a demonstration burn on pre-production of a little mini house too many houses. I looked identical from the outside. One had defensible space, ember resistant, the other didn't. And the simple things that could save your home were demonstrated. And I urge you to go look at the videotape. The state fire marshal put the demonstration on, and Roseville Fire hosted us at the training center. Fascinating to watch. You know, we sat and it was kind of smoldering for a while, and I was kind of wondering, is it going to take off? And it was just in the mulch. And very nice green plants, looked like they just come from Green Acres, were in the mulch, and then each of those ignited, and they kept spreading. It took about 15 minutes, but then the house was fully engulfed, and just
four.
and the other one was a 5-foot path around it, no vegetation up to it, no wood fence next to it, wrought iron fence only. Survived. So it's a great demonstration of simple things you can do to protect your home from embers. You can speak more about that. Anyway.
It was just a simulated house. It wasn't a real shed or smooth sidings.
But when I go siding, one had hardy board siding and a concrete.
Yeah, one was built to wildfire resistant building code, one was not. But the other two is this house is, and the mulch and the plants had an inch of rain the day before.
It was amazing.
They were wet. They were wet.
And to see the gutter just kind of melt with the heat, and then
The gutter was full of water.
and water poured out, but the gutter. Yeah. The couple of updates. The signs were removed on sites 71 and 72 for the rezone over here on Lincoln. The property owner says somebody stole them, so they were put back up. Those sites are still under consideration. I think reading tea leaves, I think they will be not supported to move on from here, but we nonetheless need to make sure that the public is aware to continue to advocate for their position on all these sites as we look at that. And then I think Al's not here today, so Mary George is reaching out to him about this question of funding. Last Tuesday, I was casually dressed and went on a tour. And Richard was there.
15.
Well, it was a great event, celebrating amazing grazing in our county. We visited Hidden Falls, where we've had cattle grazing in the park since 1985. They now have sheep and goats that come in and do parts of it as well. And they're looking to continue those grazing efforts on how well the cattle help reduce the wildland grasses and the opportunities for fire. We visited the Lincoln High School farm. That's a 900-acre farm, and over 350 students do participate in that agricultural program, learning hands-on farming and agriculture, welding, machine repairs, as well as the agricultural skills. So really a neat program to witness. And we had 2 busloads of people that went on this tour, so it was a good tour. And finally, is it Swenson's Grassland Preserve? And that's 469 acres of grassland that is protected under our West Placer Habitat Protection Program, 19 acres of vernal pools, 2 acres of seasonal wetlands, 6 acres of emergent marsh, and really fascinating to talk to the cattle farmer. He only sells kind of private transactions to his cattle, but really interesting how he works and how the cattle protect the land for various species and plants and continue the vernal pools. A good cooperative effort, and especially as we go into our general plan on how we preserve agricultural lands in our county, and you know, how we cohabitate with these areas. There are houses encroaching, and he said that's one of his biggest fears. As his homes get closer, they don't necessarily like the flies and the noise and the efforts from ag land. So it will be, and he encouraged us to continue to do more to protect more of the grasslands. Then we went back to Hidden Falls for a delicious lunch and more speeches and more education. So it was a good day. We were done by 2:33 in the afternoon. And then Wednesday, I attended a demonstration. It was my week for demonstrations on fire issues. There's a group in Silicon Valley called BurnBot. They've teamed up between Silicon Valley engineers and firefighters to develop remote control vehicles that can help. They're not the answer to what we need to do in our forests. We still need hand crews. We still need big masticators. But these are smaller robotic masticators.
Okay.
Right on the, the game board. It looks like that's old school.
Sure, I got
Daniel.
questions ready from
That's what my
Murray
kids
here.
play with,
I've
Daniel,
got his
Game Boys.
questions.
Yeah.
Questions to
And they're
consider. Can you briefly describe in
but
30
it's really
seconds
on,
or so your
we were
teaching
looking at
experience?
25, 30
Why did you choose
degree
teaching?
slopes.
So you're
And
currently
watching
teaching,
how
although
we
you're
just
retired. Can you
decimate the
explain that?
manzanita
How much has
and small
teaching
shrubs, and then
changed since the 1980s? Can you
6
tell
or
me a
8
little bit about the
trees.
science and art of
And then
teaching?
the
Why such a
other
heavy
piece
emphasis
of
on
what
test
they have
scores and
that's
individual
really
and
unique
school
is the
performances?
BurnBot itself,
There are
which
people that
actually
say the
burns,
public school system is
incinerates,
failing. How do you
puts
respond?
fire back
Is there
into the
anything else you would like our
landscape
listeners to
without
know about
danger of
teaching?
theoretically. So that demonstration won't be till September, October, but look forward to that. Yesterday morning, we also had the good news of seeing Deputy Sheriff Porter get released from the hospital after the tragic shooting up in Colfax. The bullet went through his neck and exited with only a little damage to his lung and cracking one of his ribs. So young, 24 years old, wife who's 4 weeks away from delivery. And it missed his carotid artery by just, those things that you look at and go, he was so lucky. We are so lucky that he was able to get out so quickly. There is a GoFundMe site if you're interested in donating every little bit to show the support the community has for our deputy sheriffs and the things they engage in to keep us safe. And approaching that vehicle was one. I mentioned yesterday, mobile temporary shelter. We're at 49 of the 51 program tents, and our congregate shelters at 95 of the 96 program beds. The annual point in time count was done back in January, and they just released the numbers. We are down about 1% again this year, down to 702 individuals. Last year we were at 709 individuals unsheltered or homeless. And of those, I wanted to give you a breakdown. 45 were veterans. 29 were unaccompanied youth and adults ages 15 to 24 years. 36 were families who were experiencing homelessness. 42% reported having a
Break for
physical
commercial
disability,
just a
and
bit. It's always weird to
62%
kind of break
reported
into
living
this,
with
but
mental illness.
there's never a good time.
And 261 of those individuals self-identified as chronically homeless. So a little bit of a breakdown on who we're dealing with. This is the 4th year in a row Placer County's point-in-time count has continued to decline. Small, but incrementally. And the jurisdictions, well, Sacramento County especially, is going the other direction pretty dramatically. So we feel good that where we're at. I talked to Dr. Rob Olden and Raul for quite a bit. We had a briefing last week, and they feel very optimistic that we'll see those numbers come down with our all the efforts that we're putting in our home key program and getting those units up and occupied. Will reduce these numbers even further for next year. So he attributes it to all the efforts they're putting in, as well as the Mercy Housing Project and other projects that are helping people get into housing and correct their lives as they can. I will skip the rest because I think I'm going too long. We have a board meeting today. We'll be amending our county code flood damage prevention regulations. One of the questions I have for staff this morning is on the height in trying to make people have their homes elevated further out of the floodplain in order to get flood insurance. We want to make sure we're grandfathering in, we're not requiring people to elevate their homes now. It's new structures.
16 minutes past the top of the hour, 7:16 a.m. We're listening to the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday morning during the 7 o'clock hour. We're listening to updates from Placer County Supervisor Cindy Gustafson. Pausing now for commercials, back right after this.
In business, the state of California has millions of regulations, but surprisingly, almost nothing when it comes to the technical knowledge required of a heating and air
Plus agreements for millions of dollars, as we always talk about, that is the biggest portion. And I did talk with them about the portion of the budget coming from the state right now. We do not see any reduction, right? So they feel pretty optimistic that those numbers will hold and they won't have to cut programs for that. And we'll have an update on our Western Placer Comprehensive Short Range Transit Plan. And tonight, TGI is screening the premiere of their movie, Americans with No Address, about homeless challenges. And looking forward to seeing that tonight. And Thursday, we have our quarterly city-county dinner. I believe it's here in Auburn. I know, I'm sorry. I looked at you and I realized I needed to look at you. Holiday Inn and Rob Haswell. Oh, we don't know. Rob Haswell's the speaker. So, any questions? Yes.
Placer Farm Supply, the big.
18 minutes past the top of the hour, 7:18 a.m. We are going to go back now to the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're listening to updates from Placer County Supervisor Cindy Gustafson. She's taking questions now from the audience, and then we will hear the city update. And then right after that, today's guest speaker is our very own Jerry Henry is going to be on here. He's going to be talking about the history of KAHI. Also, maybe what's in store for the future of KAHI. I'm excited to listen to it. I hope you are too. Let's head back now to the Meddlers meeting.
Boris, I don't know, and I do know. Yes,
I know on the Queens National Forest, part of the big controversy of the large Dixie fire that was a massive fire that it killed hundreds, if not thousands, of cattle that were running, that they did have running in the national forest. I don't really know what they do here locally. In fact, my assumption would be that they're missing, but it is a good part. There are a lot of cattle associations and others that are trying to continue to push to see more livestock management of forest land.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Any other questions for Cindy this morning? There's some of the best. Relatively quick.
Oh, very. That was very good.
I think that's the way we're going to segue. Councilwoman Donna Calvillo just mentioned that state parks policy does not allow grazing animals in the state parks. But I do know that the Bureau of Reclamation has worked at least to get goats, but they do environmental reviews, and there's a lot of steps to do that. Thank you, Councilwoman. As impulse, yeah. Yeah, that's not a state park, just a differentiate. But thank you, Rich. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our Community and Economic Director, Jonathan, and you can give us the update from the city of Auburn.
Sure. Well, you mentioned a little bit about housing, so you kind of teed that one up. So we do have a number of different housing projects going in the city. In fact, we just issued the final building permit for a 24-lot subdivision known as Canyon Creek over off of the ARD from Maidu, right? So that is underway, and we anticipate actually having that thing pretty much built within the next year. The only thing is those are not necessarily affordable houses. I think they start off at $1 million. But they're very nice. They're large houses. We do have another developer that's looking at retooling a subdivision that we have in town in order to do an SB9 development. If anybody remembers, the SB9 came around a while ago, and it essentially got rid of single-family zoning. So it said that no matter what, if you have a unit of land that's residential, that you can put in minus environmental hazards and some other standards, that it qualifies for two houses, which of course in the state verbiage means two houses plus two ADUs, which means four houses potentially on one lot. So we do have somebody that is
it is looking to convert one of their subdivisions. This one's off of Dairy Loop, potentially for that, and they're actually getting ready to turn it over to a real estate agent to market it. So that's going to probably cause some community inquiries on how they got there and how it's working, and I will redirect them to the state. Lastly, Collins is coming back. I mentioned that the last time you had me here. Collins is a subdivision over off of Mount Vernon, Mount Vernon. And so that one's going to get the map extended, or it's going to the planning commission on the 21st for map extension. So that'll give it another year. And it sounds like they're really ramping up to get that thing underway. So that's a portfolio of, I believe, 46 lots. So that one, who knows what type of development that one will be. But always, we do have housing that's happening in the city of Auburn, which is good to hear. We need to continue those projects. This month is Bike Month. You probably heard. We just had a bike rodeo on May 2nd over at ARD. And this kind of tees up the fact that it's kind of fortuitous because at the same time we have an RFP out to look at an active transportation plan. It's something that the city got a grant for. It's not being funded necessarily by city funds. But active transportation is just a fun way of saying multimodal, which is another fun way of saying bike, ped, and pedestrian. So we will be looking at, over the next year, really focusing on bike paths, trails, and so forth within the city. So I know that a lot of people have interest in that topic, so that's why I bring it up, because not a lot of people know that we are working on that, and that it's not an immediate goal, but it'll be over the next couple of years. We'll be able to start developing things based off of this plan that we're going on. Right now, the RFP is out, and we're just waiting for people to respond to it. City manager and I attended a really good meeting last Wednesday. That was with the Downtown Business Association. They actually held a cooperative meeting with the other districts. So they had their meeting and said, hey, why don't we all do a meeting together? Which most of you that have been around for a while, there's been kind of an us and them between some of the districts. There was some cohesion that happened, and it's been getting better. And this was just an open door, like, come on in, let's all just start doing this the right way, and talking about what's working where we're at and what's working where you're at, and maybe some of the common issues, and work together to figure those out. So this is hopefully going to be an ongoing quarterly meeting. And so this was the first one's hosted by the downtown, and hopefully the next one will be maybe Old Town or Highway 49. We're still working to get folks from the airport to be engaged in that. This last weekend, we had the Rotary Brew Fest and Chili Cook-Off over at the fairgrounds. Of course, the weather was not ideal for that, but I heard there was a decent turnout. The only reason I bring this up is because, well, who doesn't like chili? But we do, our city clerk is actually the one that puts that on. If you didn't know that, and she does a great job. And if you ever had her chili, it's amazing. In fact, I could say it's award-winning because it actually is. I don't know if it's world famous, but I'll say it's world famous as far as I'm concerned. So if you see city staff over the next week or two wandering the parking lot, it's not because they've been kicked out of the building. It's not because maybe their medication wore off. It's actually because we were challenged by our health group to try to get in more staff. So during breaks, a lot of employees have actually been doing a lot of walking. Now, this challenge is against other groups in other cities. So we're competing directly with Rockland, Roseville, some of the other county entities.
That's good, yeah.
There's over 90 that are registered. And as of last night, the city of Auburn was number 6. And so every time they get a chance, we get out, we actually move, which is great because, some of us computer lizards sit there for an awful long time and don't move very much. So, so you'll see them walking usually in groups around, and so that's it's a beneficial thing, and we always want to be conscientious about our health. I'd like to bring a spotlight to Chief Rogers and the Auburn Fire Department, who recently took part in an interview, a mock interview process with Gloucester County High School students, which 7 of them have enrolled in the Sierra College Fire Protection Organization course. So that was really to get them teed up and thinking about what they need to be thinking about ahead of time before going into that service. And they're going to continue and follow up on May 28th with the senior class mock interview. So I used to do that a lot with Rotary. I know it's a really beneficial thing for kids because a lot of us, as young adults, did not get a chance to have that type of exposure. And interviewing is something nobody wants to do, and it's definitely a skill that needs to be developed. And so this is great because I've interviewed so many people that have ethically failed in that department.
Fun fact,
Right.
I did that at Placer High with Alice down in Calvia. She was 18 or so at the time, but shouted her, and I give her all the credit, Alice. She's muted, so we can't hear her anyway. Keep going.
I actually interviewed somebody about 10 years ago for a maintenance position in public works, which we still expect, a certain level of attire and so forth. And I just remember this, he came in a white tank top with a rip in it and a stain. And I thought to myself, is this where we are in life? He then asked me if I could sign his thing that said he was there because his unemployment requires him to actually commit. I cannot make this up.
And that's where you are now.
Right. Well, I'm still hiring people. They're doing. Our candidates here have been really good. I'd like to also recognize James Tabor from Public Works Engineering, who recently took it upon himself to attend courses and ultimately completed the California Construction General Permit Training course, which allows us to lower our liability and better be aware of those state water quality issues that keep us out of trouble. So good job on him. Also, we're working at the airport, which I know you don't get a whole lot of information from the airport, but we are working on our 90-year anniversary, which is coming up in October, October 12th.
90 years?
Everybody
Airport's
that lives
been
around the
around?
airport seems to think that it showed up here about a year or two ago. But it's actually been there for about 90 years, and it's rapidly growing. We just issued permits for the last hangar row in the east end hangar section. So we're going to be looking for now new spots to expand into. Not necessarily expand the type of aircraft, but again, it's just such a high value airport to aviation and to the aviation community that it just garners so much attention. It's been amazing. In fact, we had a flight training school approach us. I can't say who they are, but they also come with a possible sales aspect, which means we would be selling aircraft, as like a dealership there out of the Auburn Airport. So it's pretty spectacular. They could go to a bigger airport, but they like the field, they like the vibe, they like the community out there. That's what draws people to our airport. So we continue to support it. So we're going to celebrate it October 12th, and that starts out with a pancake breakfast, flyover, fly in, just a number of different things that are being planned for that day. So keep that in mind. It'll be a really big celebration, and we got to remember that the airport's been there for 90 years. So that's right. It's October 12th is what I have here as far as my notes. So we got some time. I'm just throwing that out because there's been a lot of time spent with our new airport manager out there trying to get people together to have a steering committee, and they're actually creating a commemorative coin. I mean, it's a really going to be a big deal. And in the airport industrial park, we've actually have some of our businesses there are expanding. They're really doing a great job in business. And so you're going to see more and more cars parked in the airport. They're simply outgrowing their parking situations there. So we're getting, I anticipate this is only going to bring it up because it's going to be one of those things that probably becomes contentious at some point with traffic speeds and the amount of people that will then be parking and crossing the road. And, with the,
30 minutes past the top of the hour, 7:30 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. We're listening into the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're getting updates from the city. And then coming up here real quick, our very own Jerry Henry is going to be the special guest speaker today. He's going to be talking about the history of KAHI, also maybe some about the future of KAHI. We'll find out. Let's go back now to the Auburn Meddlers meeting.
I will.
The rest of us aren't
Right.
invited. Right.
Right. Yeah. So in the RFP, I did put that part of there's going to be a number of outreach efforts paid, which will be probably kind of stakeholder groups, which will be information that we put out to the public. People who want to attend those meetings and provide input. Right. Right. You're the kind of guy we need to have come to those meetings. Look at it.
Near the airport, which incidentally is being beautifully taken care of by your group of humanity. But the question is that temporary, or should we expect that to be a permanent situation? Are we going to be the base?
I honestly can't answer that. I know they have a laydown yard where you discussed over by the golf course. They've used that in emergencies. Now they're using it, like you said, for bucket truck storage. The one out in Nevada is actually a lease with Persistys. It's a 3-year lease as far as I know. And so that was something that they acquired some years ago to have that out there. That's also because they have the natural gas line that runs through there. And if you remember, about a year or two ago that they did the burn on. So that's kind of why they have their equipment there. I have no good answers for you, other than what I provided. Right. Right. It's just outside the city, so I honestly am not that in tune with it. I can tell you that at the airport, we have become kind of the base of air operations for PG&E's contractors. So you'll see a lot more helicopter activity out of there. They do enjoy working from here, and they're synergy with the amount of equipment and things that are in the area. So. It's a great plug because that one little 10% of my time that does do economic development, that's where I encourage people that have these issues or that may have these issues or can identify things that we should be looking at. I'm one of the computer lizards that doesn't get away from the desk very often, so bringing those things to my attention greatly helps us because then I can get ahead of it. So I appreciate it.
All right, with that, you may be wondering who our speaker is. If you look around, we have Jerry Henry this morning sitting in the crowd, but Jerry Henry, the general manager of KAHI Radio. I think Jerry, you were here last year about this time, talking about the potential sale of KAHI. So I'm going to turn it to you. I'm going to switch to get your car up here. Do you want to stand, sit, or
here? I'll look out of here. Then you can just.
I'll hit it right now. Okay.
35 minutes past the top of the hour, 7:35 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. If you're just tuning in, we are listening into the Auburn Meddlers meeting as we do every Tuesday morning during the 7 o'clock hour. They're just getting set up, transitioning over for Jerry Henry. Our very own Jerry Henry is going to be talking about KAHI here. So let's go ahead and tune back in.
Owned or operated by a great big corporation or media group. Small stations are all but squeezed out of the market these days. So KAHI keeps plugging along here. If we can just move forward one. It was 1957 that there were 471 TV stations in the United States and 530 FM radio stations, as well as 2,974 AM radio stations on the air in the United States. And in 1957, November 13th, we added KAHI to that list in Auburn, California. This here is a picture that hangs in the museum here in Auburn, over at the Courthouse Museum.
Nifty
It
950.
says that Placer County's first local radio station was KDIA. It aired its first programming back in 1950, and the station operated only a few years. KAHI received its FCC license on November 13th, 1957, and remains a source of local news and entertainment today. And those names listed there are the first employees, people who put the radio station on the air. You might recognize some of them. So I just want to give you a little background on myself. I am a U.S. Air Force veteran. I have a BA in Business Administration from CSU in Sacramento, and also an associate's degree in electronics technology. I worked 11 years for Blue Diamond Growers down in Sacramento, and then 21 years for Sacramento County Department of Human Assistance and Child Protective Services. And during that time, I started working as a part-time for KAHI Radio, and I've been the last man standing for about 29 years now. I did serve 2 years on the grand jury. You may remember, see my name on some of those reports here in Placer County. And I'm a big supporter, having retired from Child Protective Services, a big supporter of child advocates. I work with Casa here in Placer County, and now I'm also a child advocate for Mendocino County. Grew up most of my time in Penryn, and when the kids went to Del Oro High School, and when they grew up and moved away, we kind of downsized and moved into the city of Auburn. And one of those little ones is sitting right here, probably the youngest one in the room, but he's one of our local folks now. Next. Originally, there were two stations, AM 950 and also KAFI. So there was KAHI and KAFI originally. And then KAFI was later renamed KHYL. You might remember Cahill, KAHI and Cahill. The combination moved over to 1230 High Street in the mid-1980s. And in 1986, KHYL and KAHI owner was Auburn Broadcasting Company. They sold the AM/FM combo to a company called Parker Communications. Later, KHYL studios were moved down to Sacramento, and eventually they were purchased by Clear Channel Communications, which is now known as iHeartMedia. KHYL does remain licensed to the city of Auburn, and it's been known as Cahill Pool 101.
Really?
And I believe they're still calling themselves B101 at this point.
Cool.
In 94, Nevada County Broadcasters, who owns KNCO over in Grass Valley, they purchased KAHI, but they quickly turned it around and sold it to a company called Immaculate Heart Radio. And around that time in 1995, a corporation was formed locally to try to keep the AM 950 frequency locally operated here in town. But it's kind of inside baseball here. But when the FCC authorized an expanded band, KAHI was granted a new license to move our frequency to a higher frequency on the AM band. The FCC required that one of the two frequencies had to be surrendered. Either the higher frequency or the lower frequency would need to be surrendered back to the FCC within 5 years. And the owners at that time sold the station to Immaculate Heart Radio. Just Immaculate Heart Radio has since sold it to Relevant Radio, but regardless, it's a Catholic network. Immaculate Heart Radio had plans for the new frequency, and they signed a time brokerage agreement allowing our newly formed corporation to operate the lower frequency here in town while they took and moved the higher frequency over to West Sacramento. And then one of those two had to go within 5 years, according to FCC regulations. And after the Immaculate Heart moved the higher frequency over to West Sacramento, when that 5-year drop dead period came, one of those two frequencies had to go away, and our local corporation went to the FCC and said, wait just a minute, if you turn off 950, Auburn's not going to have a radio station anymore because you let Auburn's radio station go over to West Sacramento. And the FCC said, oops, we weren't supposed to do that. So they gave us a special temporary authorization allowing 950 to stay on the air. And so we've sort of been hanging in that never land for about 30 years now, that KAHI has still been operating in Auburn, even though the FCC says that can't happen. And then in 2002, KAHI moved to its current location on 950, 985 Lincoln Way, where we are right now, and proud to be a part of Auburn's downtown, the vibrant downtown Auburn community. Let's fast forward to 2017 now. The FCC initiated an AM revitalization program authorizing existing AM radio stations to rebroadcast or what's considered translate on an FM frequency. And for a limited time, AM stations were allowed to purchase FM translators and relocate them for up to 250 miles. So our local corporation found a station that was assigned to Madera, purchased it, and successfully petitioned the FCC to move that frequency over to Auburn. An engineering study was completed, and 104.5 was approved by the FCC as
FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the voice of the foothills.
And on March 8th of 2018, FM 104.5 KAHI went on the air. And so now we have an AM and an FM combination in Auburn again. I just want to touch on some business challenges. We all know how challenging it is to run a small business in California, but being a radio station has other challenges as well. KAHI is a small market or a small station, and we do deal with competition coming out of the Sacramento market. So we don't bill $100,000 a month like a lot of radio stations do. So our income really limits our business operations in a small town, and yet we still have to pay the same bills as any other company, small business, as well as the additional expenses associated with being a broadcast entity. So we have to pay taxes, insurance, stuff like that any business does, but we also have to pay music royalties.
16 minutes to the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. We are listening into the Auburn Meddlers meeting as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. We're hearing from our very own Jerry Henry talking about KAHI and talking about bills and paying the bills. We're going to pause for just a little bit here to pay the bills, show some love to our advertisers. We'll be back right after this.
Store is McCullough in the Auburn Town Center. McCullough carries all the name brand products.
How was that for a segue?
Right now you'll find,
you're running the place. That's how it used to work. Well, now you can't do that. You can't have a volunteer unless you can get an intern if you have an agreement with an approved educational institution, but you can't have a volunteer walk in the door and help you on the air like we used to. This is a big one right here. The FCC has their main studio rule. What I think is sort of a big problem for KAHI, as well as a lot of stations. In October of 2018, the FCC adopted a rule change that eliminated the requirement that a station have its main studio and a full-time management and staff present during normal business hours. So that facility used to have to actually be in town. Now you don't really have to be in town anymore in order to run a radio station. And so this could be what I think of as a death blow that they've assigned to local radio, because KAHI could be operated from New York without ever stepping foot in this town. It's very sad.
Call to 916-339-7070, and in minutes you'll see what
14 minutes to the top of the hour here at FM 104.5, AM 950, KAHI, voice of the foothills. We're going to head back now to the Auburn Meddlers meeting. We're going to hear from Jerry Henry, general manager of KAHI here, talking about KAHI, the past, and talk a little bit about the future.
Weekend programs. KAHI Corral, Connie Watson is on the air. The Garden Goddesses, Erlene Isley and Cindy Davis are on Saturday mornings. We have local stuff, talking to local people. That's really what's keeping us going. We're also involved in the community, trying to let people know that we're here. We get involved in many community functions, and this is the world famous 1989 KAHI van that we use for promotions and parades around town. We also get involved. We do remote broadcasts as much as we can muster up the manpower to do. This was taken at Auburn's Gold Country Fair. Sorry, I self-lost here. We broadcast from the Auburn Community Festival. We do things that, that we can get involved in the local community. And also, KAHI is community involved. We broadcast the Auburn Chamber of Commerce Meddlers Forum meeting live each week. And as a matter of fact, we're live right now on the radio, and Chris is back at the studio running things back there. He does have to take a station break once in a while. So if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I got you covered here, Chris. You're listening to the Auburn Chamber of Commerce Meddlers Forum meeting live here on the Voice of the Foothills, FM 104.5 and AM 950 KAHI.
Good job, Jerry.
Thank you. So, what does having its own radio station mean to a town like Auburn? And that's really important. It's KAHI is licensed by the FCC to provide immediate and accurate information to the community in times of crisis such as fire, severe weather, so school closures, that kind of stuff. We can get immediate information out as quickly as we can. Many local businesses also take advantage of KAHI's affordable advertising rates to advertise their products and their services. And KAHI has employees, so we pay employment taxes. We rent office and studio space in Auburn. We support the businesses that support us, and our employees drive into town and spend money here. So, like any other small business, it's important to have a radio station here. What's the future of KAHI? And that's the million-dollar question here. Some of us are aging out of the program, and we're looking for the next generation to take over and try to keep the radio station local. I searched quietly for new management and ownership for a number of years, and I spoke with people trying to find the next generation. I kind of got frustrated, and I called a media broker, and I had an offer the next day. But I did sign a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't really go into details of that. But suffice it to say that accepting that deal would have required me to fire all of KAHI's staff and vacate the studios within 30 days, and KAHI would have been operated from, like we said, a remote location, and it would no longer be considered Auburn's radio station. It would be operated from a distant location, and it's possible that they would never mention Auburn ever again, except at the top of the hour when the FCC requires that you identify your city of license. But other than that, we may not even be able to understand the language on the radio station, depending on who took it over and what they did with it. So, late in December of 2022, I promised KAHI's board of directors that I would give it 6 months to try to find a plan that would keep KAHI local rather than sell it off to something else. And February 1st of 2023, we put this press release out in the Auburn Journal covered that KAHI was, the future of KAHI was up in the air. We're hoping that something local would emerge. Sacramento media reached out and they wanted to get that word out, but we tried to keep it as local as possible. We don't necessarily want to go outside of Auburn if we can, but the board of directors, Cheryl Mackey is on our board of directors, and she is very, very instrumental in fighting to keep this local in any way that we possibly can. She's kind of behind the scenes, but she is fighting for KAHI very, very hard to keep it local. And we try to get Cheryl on the air. I have this vision of like the Cheryl Mackey Power Hour or something on the regular, with of course her son Randy, but Cheryl doesn't want to do that part, but she is behind the scenes working for us. So I just want to make sure that we take note that 6-month agreement that I made with the board of directors. We're in our 17th month of that 6-month plan right now, but we're not giving up. So the possibilities for KAHI's future, we talked about, it could be swallowed up by a non-local group. You know, that's happening all over the country, but we're doing our best not to let that happen. We could find a new local owner and operator. That would be really nice to keep it local. And then we've also floated the idea of some kind of a local ownership group, which to me makes the most sense of all, because you get a group of people together, they're local, they all have a share of this, and it would take a lot more people to pull that plug and send it off to New York. If you had a bunch of people working together, you'd have to get an agreement from a bunch of locals instead of just one local. So that's another idea that we floated out there. So far, KAHI is still local. We would like to keep it that way, and I'm fighting with all that I can do to try to keep it that way. But at some point, you know, somebody else has to step up. We've got to move forward some way. So we will open it up to questions if you have any questions. And I'm not checking our time here.
On the air. Ray.
Yeah, we belong to the California Broadcasters Association and the National Broadcasters Association. They're fighting to stop that from happening, but technology is changing. So right now, AM radios will stay in cars, but we can't guarantee that's going to happen forever. To address that, we broadcast, you know, so much is moving on the internet. KAHI is live on the internet. So even if they took AM stations out of cars, they're going to continue to have internet available in cars, streaming. So you can still listen that way. And in addition to that, they're not yet talking about taking FM out of cars. So we do have the FM signal. Mary Jane is back, but I don't want to speak for her, but she didn't want to make the commitment to a daily thing. She was doing our noon news and a program in the afternoon, and her husband got ill, and she took time off to care for him, and sadly he passed away. So she has agreed to come back, but she's doing a weekend thing. So she's on the air on Saturday mornings, very early, 5 to 7 a.m. Saturday mornings, and it replays Sunday nights at 7 to 9, I think, or maybe 8 to 10. I'm not sure. But she is back doing a pre-recorded 2-hour show, but just on the weekends. And if you want to reach out to her and try to convince her that we need her Monday through Friday, I wish we could get her back, but she doesn't really want to make that commitment anymore. Please do.
Other questions this morning? Rosalie.
Yeah, there's a lot of technology involved. It could be anything, or it could be a lot of things. If you're talking about AM, it could be our AM transmitter. If you're talking about FM, it could be the FM transmitter. And there's also this connection between our studios in Auburn and our transmitter out in Pilot Hill. It could be the connection between those two. It could be a network that we're picking up programming from through a satellite and the satellite's failing. I mean, it could be a number of things. No, it's definitely not a good thing. And the fact that we don't have to have a human there like we used to, there's no human there. So unless one of our employees happens to be listening or I get a text or a call, it could go on, unless someone tells us. We could do that type of stuff. We run into problems with volunteers that we talked about earlier, where the time, then they become a customer, and then that's legal. We could do that, and if anybody wants to, I mean, it doesn't cost a lot because to us it's a community service, but we can't just accept volunteers to walk in the door and do that because the California doesn't allow us to have those volunteers. But if they were a customer and paid a small amount for that time, then we could do that. So we're certainly open to that.
Oh, thanks. Are there community owned stations, cooperatives, or?
We are. I'm sure that
If you're looking for a local buyer, could there be a group?
Absolutely, yes.
Put together
It is a corporation, and so you could buy shares of a corporation, and if you got 10 people to each buy 10%, then you formed a local corporation. We already have a corporation, so we could transfer 10% here, 10%, 10%, and then we've got a group of 10 people doing the corporation, the type of ownership that you're talking about. To me, that's ideal. That makes it local. There you go.
Great. Final question.
Probably the big guys. There's 6 or 8 big corporations that basically own media. We know that. And there are some rules that stop you from owning more than 6 or 8 stations in a certain market. But if you own 6 stations in every market in the world, it is what it is.
Well, right on time. Right on time. That's the end of this radio show. So, Jerry, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Cindy had to get into work. Thank you for.
And we were just listening into the Auburn Meddlers meeting, as we do every Tuesday during the 7 o'clock hour. That was KAHI General Manager Jerry Henry was talking there a little bit about the history of Auburn and not of Auburn, but of KAHI here in Auburn area. Fascinating. I got to tell you, that was a little bit of a history lesson for me, learning a little bit. I didn't know that Jerry did all that. I didn't know that he worked in some of those places that he worked. You learn something new about folks every day. So excited to be here with you. Chris Quant with you here, holding it down in beautiful Studio A, as Jerry was saying in downtown Auburn here in the State Theater building here. Love being here. Love being street side, watching people get up in the morning, watching Auburn wake up every morning. Folks walking their dogs out there, saying hi. A few folks waving as they go by, and even one individual that taps on the window every morning, and it scares the bejeebers out of me every morning. But I appreciate being acknowledged and being given the heads up and the hello. Lots of good stuff going on. If today is your birthday, my goodness gracious, happy birthday to you. Hope you're having a fantastic day as you're getting started today. I hope all of your birthday wishes and dreams come true. I was talking yesterday about we celebrated my mother-in-law's birthday over the weekend. Now, it was on Saturday, May the 4th, and may the 4th be with you and also with you. It's not her actual birthday. It's a little bit later on this week, but it's her 70th birthday. And so we did a whole big shindig where it was an all-day affair. Had breakfast, had brunch, went bowling, had some dinner, and she requested a talent show. So we all the kids and the grandkids and the spouses and everybody got out there and did a little talent show. I did a little segment from the radio. I did the daily dad jokes and had everybody join with me and come up and tell their own little dad joke just as a way to get everybody involved. So we had a ton of fun. If it's your birthday today, I hope you're having a ton of fun as well. I'm just seeing who we've got whose birthday is today. David Tomlinson, English character actor. He died in 2000. He was born on this day in 1917. Johnny Unitas, American football player and sportscaster, was born on this day in 1933, died in 2002. David Hume, Scottish philosopher. Let's go way back to 1711. He was born on this day in 1711. Hey, today is National Teacher Day. I've got Martin Brown. Marty Brown is going to be in here a little bit later. He's going to join me in our next segment. We're going to talk about teachers and what's the deal with teachers? What does their day look like? What do they go through? How is teaching changed over the last few decades? Has it changed? What's the future looking like? Excited to have that conversation with him today. Also today, the fun facts. I like to go through the fun facts for today. Today, the sinking of the Lusitania happened on this day in, it was in 1915. Also, today is Public Gardens Day. It's Roast Leg of Lamb Day. So if you if you're looking for a dinner idea, what's that short story? I remember reading it in school. Speaking of teachers, we had to read it where it was a story where the husband, the spouse was killed, and it turned out that it was the wife that killed him. And she killed him with a frozen leg of lamb. And with all the police that were there investigating it, she basically served them the weapon or the instrument she used to kill her husband with for dinner. It was a roast leg of lamb. So there you go. I can't remember the name of the story. I'm sure if we Googled it, it would be there, but I have never, that's like one of the short stories I remember from high school reading is she killed her husband with a frozen leg of lamb and then served it to the cops and the investigators for dinner. She smiled to herself as they ate the evidence. It's also Spouse Appreciation Day. So if you have a spouse, show them some love. Give them a hug, a high five, maybe a kiss on the mouth there. It's Spouse Appreciation Day and National Teacher Day. So give your local teachers a high five. Maybe bring them have the kids bring them a nice little gift or something like that to school. That they can have as well. Actually, I'll ask Marty if they like the gifts that the students bring. What do they do with the gifts that the students bring? Maybe a gift card. Maybe that's a good thing. That way they can spend it on stuff either for the classroom or maybe get themselves an extra cup of coffee or something like that. Hey, we need to find out what we're looking like weather-wise today. For that, we turn it over to meteorologist Tim Root. Hey, Timmy, how are we looking for today?
Morning. I'm forecasting mostly sunny skies today. High temperatures in the metro.
Hey, Marty.
And light northwest winds. Mostly clear overnight in the mid-40s and light northeast winds expected. Wind in the northwest went up to 20 miles per hour Wednesday.
Landslide. That's it. Okay, perfect. That totally makes sense.
Thursday.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
that's
fine. More the same for Friday. This is meteorologist Tim Root from FM 104.5 and AM 950 KAHI.
Do you suffer from stomach issues? Shop at Sunrise Natural Foods.
Lamb to the slaughter?
This month,
That's what
all
it
new
is. Yeah.
Chapter products are 30% off, including new Chapter probiotics.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Probiotics provide beneficial bacteria in your gut while eliminating.
I mean, it makes
bacteria,
sense.
Which makes for
That would be.
digestion, reducing symptoms like bloating and stomach discomfort.
because you have to have
Visit
all four of
Sunrise
those
Natural
things.
Foods
to
Yeah.
have the method,
in Auburn,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
at sunrisenaturalfoods.net. Sunrise Natural Foods, made with life's best ingredients.
5 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:05 a.m. here at FM 104.5 AM 950 KAHI. You know what it is. It is the voice of the foothills. Coming up in our next segment, Martin Brown, Marty Brown is going to be here. We're talking teachers here on National Teachers Day. He let me know the name of the title. It's called Lamb to the Slaughter. That's the name of the story I was thinking of. Going now to America's First News. I'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right.
So this is pretty cool. Pretty cool setup.
A lot of fun, huh? Well, I mean, it's a lot of fun for me. So I started. Well, at first I asked if I could volunteer because I've always been interested in radio. And they said no, like legally we can't have volunteers, but we need to, pay you. We don't have anything open right now. And so I got a call. I came in and just I had done a little bit of radio down in Sacramento a little bit, and that kind of didn't work out. It was fun though, learned a lot. And knew KAHI existed, came here because I used to work, our office used to be just right down across the street from Grocery Outlet here. So it was just right there. So I walk here on my lunch breaks. And so just mustered up my courage one day and walked in and inquired about hey, if they're looking for any help, and talked to the general manager now and got a call. I remember I was landing at JFK in New York on a business trip, and I saw an email that said, hey, we might have something, and basically just came in and just started learning. I did commercials, local commercials, stuff like that, recorded it. And then the guy who was running the board on the weekends, young guy, he's like, oh, I'm going up to Seattle. He got a job at a radio station up there in Seattle. So I took over the weekends. We have 2 local shows on Saturday mornings, and from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And so I kind of ran the boards and, chatted on the air every now and again. And then did that from I think it was during COVID that I took over that. That was 2021.
So you have 2 jobs.
I have 3. So I do this. And then Barry, the guy who did mornings for a long time, got pancreatic cancer, and unfortunately he passed away. And so I took over this August of last year. So in this August will be a year. So I've been doing it for a few months now. So yeah, something I've always wanted to do. Something I love it. I enjoy it. I look forward to it every day. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun. I love the timing of it. You got to make. I get here at quarter to 6. Technically 5:30. Quarter to 6. Yeah. And you go on at 6. Go on at 6. Yep. And so I'll have. I don't know if I got the clock, but basically. Right now I'll throw it to the national news. So national news, there's different segments, and then I've got segments throughout the hour. So I've got the first 6 minutes of the hour, and then throw it to national news, and then I'll come back at 8:14. So that's when we'll come on the air here and go for about 5 minutes there, and then hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Jerry, this is Martin Brown. He's going to be my guest here coming up in the next segment. That sounded good. I love the you did great. You did the shout out. I had just come back from commercial, so the timing was good. So it made a lot of sense. So yeah, that was awesome.
Do you know Cindy?
Cindy Gustafson, I've not met her personally. I feel like I know her, hearing her every Tuesday.
Her chief of staff came up to me afterwards and asked if she might do a recurring segment update on the county, and I said, I gave her my card and said, reach out to me, and I'd put you in touch with her.
Yeah, Jim comes in. I mean, Jim's coming in tomorrow. He usually comes in after their meetings.
Yeah.
Why not? The more the merrier, maybe.
Yeah, you could do a different day with her.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then somebody from the SPCA asked the same sort of question.
Oh, great.
So
yeah, we'll get them on. If nothing else, I'll have them on as a guest and come in here and chat with them. Would love to do that.
Yeah.
So
or they could do it by phone.
They've been getting some calls of folks that have been enjoying some of the local interviews, stuff like that. So that's been cool. Also, speaking of phone, are you going to be here for a minute, or are you going to take off? I need you to remind me how to turn the phones on in there so I could do pre-recorded interview. I know you showed me once, but I can't remember.
I'll show you.
it.
I'll be around, and I'm around tomorrow. I'm around for a couple of days.
All right, I got to show. Can you come into the frame here a little bit? My wife's going to be super disappointed, Jerry. Babe, Jerry cut his hair. If you're still watching, she loved the long hair, but I don't know. Maybe I've got.
I had really long. It was way out of control.
She wants me to grow my hair out like yours, and now maybe I'll have permission to cut my hair.
I went almost a year and a half without cutting it.
Yeah.
16 months.
Yeah.
Without a haircut.
Yeah.
And like last Saturday,
I saw you on there. I was like, what? Jerry got his hair. Oh my gosh.
It's really a pain in the neck to deal with long hair.
Yeah, yeah.
It
looks good though.
Especially with the wind, man. It just drives me nuts. It's flapping in your
Yeah.
eyes all the time. Not good. All right, I'm gonna.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, post up over there.
Here, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't remember what we were talking about.
What's
but
your
yeah.
third job?
Well, the church. Well, church is kind of like a stipend. That's a kind of a monthly doing that, and then I'm doing some
You are a
podcasting.
busy guy.
Yeah, so it's it makes for busy days. But I mean, it's good reason to get up in the morning. For me, it's really motivating to do. So
And it keeps you healthy, you know, because you don't drink too much at night. So.
Yeah. I know I gotta go to bed. I know if it hits about, what is it? If it's about 8:30 and I'm not in bed by 8:30, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. I can imagine.
4 o'clock's coming real early. I used to get up and go to the gym before I came here a couple days a week, and I just wasn't making up the sleep time.
Sure.
Like the sleep was just
Yeah.
kicking my butt. So I'm like, I got to figure something else out. But it's good. So it's kind of nice through here. We have an affinity relationship with CAC Fit, which is it's over by Safeway down on Bell over there. And so I've got a membership there through here, which is really nice. It's nice to go. So had them on the air, and one of their trainers, Brad, came in, and he's going to do like a, what do you call it? A segment on Tuesdays, Trainer Tuesdays, where he'll give like training tips and stuff like that. So it's just making those little connections.
Just a FYI, I am a slow speaker and also soft. So
I got a volume control
Yeah,
right
okay.
here. I got you. Yeah, I'll hear it on the, and I like it. It's very deliberate and very precise. That's what I love about it. I mean, these were awesome questions. When I saw those questions come through, I was like, oh my gosh, these are fantastic. These are really great. Well, but it really is like from somebody who knows and somebody who's been, in
school
the
has changed.
industry.
School
Yeah.
has changed so much.
Well, and with everything that's going on with the Auburn School District right now, and like
I'm not-
parents
I'm
are,
not gonna touch
we're
that.
not going to go there. Yeah, we won't go there. But we'll let that be. But that begs a good question. Anything that we should stay away from? Anything that you don't want to chat about? Okay. All right. And okay, if I call you Marty, is it okay
Sure.
to say I'll say Martin, but then
Call me whatever.
okay. All right, headphones here so you can hear, and microphone right here. We're gonna hop on in about 7 seconds here. We're just having a conversation. And good Tuesday morning to you. It is Tuesday, May 7th, and it is 14 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:14 a.m. here at FM 104.5, AM 950 KAHI, voice of the foothills. Gang, we are in for a treat. We have Marty Brown, talking about National Teachers Day. Now, Martin, or can I call you Marty?
Sure.
Can I say Marty? Okay, thank you. I know you as Marty. Disclosure, we know each other, and you've been a teacher. You've been in the school, I want to say industry. I don't want to call it a business, but you've been in that environment for a long time. Tell us a little bit about your CV, where all you've been.
Sure. So it's really a field.
Field. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
I began in 1980 as a school teacher. I was a substitute, but my first real gig was teaching in a juvenile hall for Sonoma County.
Okay.
And I did that for 8 years. And that was one of the best jobs ever. You would think, oh man, they were just bad boys. But yes, they were bad boys.
Yeah.
However, they behaved because I'm soft. I'm not, intimidating. And they saw that I created an academic world and they wanted to behave. So that's how my teaching experience began. However, I was pulled to the side by some other teachers, and they said, you need to get out of here. You need to go get your master's degree. You're running the school. And I'm 40, the people that were telling me this were 40 years older than I was. And they were saying, go become an administrator because you have that.
Okay.
So I, in 1990, took my first administrative job, and I was a school principal for the next 26 years. I retired in 2016 in Roseville City Schools. I had the privilege of starting a school called Diamond Creek.
Oh.
And I I worked there for like 18 years. And the bottom line is that when I retired in 2016, I got kind of bored, and my wife pulled me to the side and said, she said, you were most happy, you were happiest when you were teaching.
Yeah.
The next day I got a job, and I work at Placer School for the adults.
Okay. Wow. Now your wife she taught as well, correct? You're a teaching family.
Yes. Oh,
how was it like having two teachers in the household?
Even our children are teachers. It's great. Dinner time was always a trip. My wife was an ELD teacher, which is English Language Development. She was an ELD teacher.
Okay.
She taught children who were new to America in Rockland Unified School District.
Okay. Interesting. Now, one of the stories, one of the movies that has always left an impression on me, Mr. Holland's Opus. If you think a teaching story, somebody who kind of unintentionally came to teaching. I had other plans. What is it? Life is what happens when we're busy making other plans. The John Lennon song, and he stopped in, and it became a career, and it became a passion. Was that what is? Did you just happen to fall into? How did you get into teaching to start?
I, in high school, learned that I had a great skill in writing. I could write. A good skill, not a great skill. I could write. And so I went into the university system planning to be a writer. I was an English major, and I got involved with a tutoring program. And I just fell in love with the elementary level kids. Although my first gig was high school, I always aspired to be an elementary school teacher.
Wow.
And so I found that I was good at it. I was passionate. I loved it.
Finding something that you're good at early on is so cool and so important. Now, I want to go back. You were teaching, your first teaching job was in juvenile hall. That's where it was.
Yes,
So now you said you were soft. Now I don't see you as a soft, you're just more soft spoken. Is that where you meant? So that kind of ask them to maybe tone that down a little bit and to stretch to hear you a little bit? How did that, because I think, man, the worst job, I felt so sorry. I went to a private high school and junior high school, and I tell you what, you could not pay me enough money to be a substitute teacher in a private middle school. I never went to public school in junior high or high school. I went to a private school. But in a private, no way, not no how. How did you deal with that?
Well, I did work at the juvenile hall on the weekends as a staff member.
Okay.
So I had a particular job on the weekends. However, it was Monday through Friday that I was the teacher, and I soon quit the weekend job once I had a contract.
Okay.
And I found that teaching those students was easy if you don't go into it with using the F-bomb every other word. You're not big, you're intimidating, you're not threatening, encouraging, using positive statements, all the things that we want to do with our children. Well, these big boys, these big bad boys, all, they have tattoos already at 16 and 17.
Yeah.
They are little boys once you kind of strip off their veneer.
Kind of the human psychology and trying to get down. What are some techniques that you would use to get the class's attention? Do you have special, like 1, 2, 3 eyes of that? I mean, that's maybe more elementary school, but like when you're dealing with older students, I'm trying to remember how they ever got our attention at it.
That was 40 years ago. I'm not really sure what I did. I know I didn't threaten them, but just start your class. Hey, sit down, guys. Let's go. Hey, I said sit down. There we go. Now, I appreciate that.
What do you find that motivates different? Because everybody's different. Students are different. What do you find that motivates students the most to excel, to learn, to engage?
Positive statements. Things that you can help them to look at themselves to improve. And it would be, positive statements that are followed up with, well, let me help you look at this part right here. This is what I think you need to change. And they accept the criticism if it's presented to them in a positive way.
Yeah, that's good. If you're just joining in, we're talking to Martin Brown. Marty Brown, we're talking about teachers here on National Teachers Day. A teacher himself, school administrator. We're going to take a break. We will be back right after this. Awesome. How's it feeling? Feel okay? Feel good? Okay, good. I just having a conversation. Good. Jason came in a while back on mental. We were talking about mental health, and so got to have him in here.
Great connection. I think he had some great things to say.
We had a good discussion.
Once you started getting him to talk, he can just throw out the words.
He's so good, and like you, his depth of knowledge in that particular area is just, and working with veterans and just really some really interesting stuff. Is very, very interesting. So I love it. It's just having that curious.
How many more minutes do we have? And
probably
I'm not trying to get out of here.
Okay. Yeah. We probably got about 9 more minutes. Is that okay?
I do want to talk about how education has changed.
Yep. I got it. Okay. We're going to come back on here in about 10 seconds. Thank you. And 21 minutes past the top of the hour, 8:21 a.m. Talking to Marty Brown here. We're talking about National Teachers Day, celebrating teachers here on this day. Hey, Marty, let's talk a little bit about you're currently teaching right now. You said a little bit of like your wife's like you were so happy when you were teaching. You were a school administrator for years. Why go back to teaching? Why you're retired now? You could be out there. I know you like to ski, hit the slopes, maybe go on some hikes. Why go back to the classroom?
That's exactly it, Chris. I was at Sugar Bowl and I was counting. This is the 17th time I've skied in 2017. And I thought, I have it all. I have good health. I have enough income to be able to, enjoy this type of life. I have all the good things. I have healthy children who are not, in therapy. I have a wife that kind of likes me still, maybe. And so I thought, there's a hole in me still. I'm just not complete.
Yeah.
And that's when I went home to my wife and just chatted with her about that. And she was so insightful.
Yeah, isn't it great to have somebody like that who can really point? I know my wife does the same for me. And on Spouses Day, honey, if you're listening, thanks for being an awesome spouse. I know for your sweetheart Marby could doing the same for you too, of really helping us find our passions there. Let's talk about now. You would talk about coming in the 1980s. Let's talk about the change over the last few decades. What is that like? Can you talk to me a little bit about the change in teaching? Has it changed, or are there things that fundamentally stay the same?
I have seen so much change in public education in my lifetime. In the 1980s, a book called A Nation at Risk came out by John Goodman, and it went to the State Department, the Education Department, and it just basically said, we are a nation at risk. We're going to lose everything if we don't have our students measured and learning and doing proficient work.
Yeah.
The end result was that reform began, and it took 20 years for some of the reforms to stick. And the end result was where teachers work in PLCs, which are called professional learning communities. That's why children go home early, one day a week, usually an hour or so early. They make up that time with adding 6 minutes more onto your schedule. But that PLC time is where teachers do not plan field trips. They do not, sit around and drink coffee and do Starbucks runs. Teachers want to meet in grade levels and talk about what they are teaching, how their last assessment worked, and they really look at the data that follows it. And how come everybody missed question number 21? And why is it that my students didn't get this piece and yours did? And they have those heartfelt conversations. That's one part. That's not the complete reform. That's just one small part. Another change has been the curriculum. When I began teaching, I started off by saying, hey, where are you at in your math? I'm on page 52. Oh, okay. Well, I'm on 58. All right. So that's how teaching went. You just open up your book and you start teaching. Today, you look at really the content standards, and America has changed all of its focus to content standards, because these are things that are easily measured, and also these standards allow us to say, this is what we need our children to learn in kindergarten so they can be proficient in first grade to second grade to third grade to being a senior and matriculating off to the university system successfully. And these content standards were another reform that came into play. Another is assessment. And yes, we do a lot of assessments, and it would be nice not to do assessments. But we need to have those measures because we want to look at those individuals. You really want to look at the grade levels.
Yeah.
You also want to look at your schools and districts.
Yeah. You can't improve on what you can't measure. If you don't have the measurements, you don't know where attention needs to be taken. Much like in a business, right? Like
Exactly.
you've got to have metrics, you've got to have measurements, you've got to have the numbers. That way we can see, hey, where do we need to come up from? Where do we need to? Maybe we're doing good here, and we need to focus our attention here. As I was sitting here thinking, I love to hear, and I know in past conversations that you and I have had your passion for it. I was reflecting on earlier today
Oh.
teachers that stood out to me when I was growing up. So Mrs. Kieswitter, my fifth grade teacher, she had a thing called a pen license, and we were using pencils up until that time. And if your penmanship was good enough, then you would get your pen license, which meant you could then use a pen on your homework and in your written assignments in class. And that was a huge status symbol. I finally got mine near the end of the I did. I think there were some kids that never got it that year. But then Mrs. Tomlinson, my sixth grade teacher, who every Friday we would have to line up before we left the classroom, and she would give us a hug and she would speak a word of encouragement to us before we went out for the weekend. I kind of tear up a little bit. It makes me a little emotional thinking about the teachers that had that impact on us. Were there any teachers that had that sort of impact? Any teachers that stood out to you growing up that you had that maybe inspired you to go in this direction?
Absolutely. I had one teacher in particular. I went to 4 high schools in 4 years. My father was military and we moved all over. So I was in Germany and San Antonio, Yakima, Washington, and all of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any connections. So I had a teacher, Mrs. Lincoln, who in 11th grade pulled me off to the side and she looked me right in the eye, and she was 5 foot nothing. And she said, "You will not come to this class late. You will not come to this class unprepared. You will be prepared, and you are going to the university." And she just put the screws to me. And that was such an encouragement. For the first time I heard, you can go to a university.
Wow. My goodness gracious. I could see the memory coming across your face here.
And by the way, I was late.
But the fact that just what a word can do to turn around somebody's life and make that difference in somebody's life is absolutely incredible. I love hearing that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the science and art of teaching, because again, being able to connect with your student, like she saw something in you. She noticed something and you said, I am not going to let you be this version because I know that you're better. Is there, now that's maybe not so much the science, and I know there's an art of teaching, but kind of telling me a little bit about how that all wraps together being a teacher, because I have to admit, you're wearing so many different hats throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year.
There is a science and there is an art to teaching. If you look at little first graders, there is a science that is going on with those little guys. Yes, they're walking around with mock telephones, speaking their phonics into the...
Yeah, right?
but there's a science behind it where the teacher intentionally is putting together lessons that emphasize the syllables, putting together initial blends, working with how the vowel is long and short, and putting these together to create words. Words have meaning. Let's talk about meaning, and let me read a story to you now. And that is a very simplified version of that. It translates to, let's say in high school where you have your content standards and you are learning English literature and you have put together a paper that's associated with the theme that you've read with some books. There's a real science behind this. The passion that I have for teaching also translates to that art where you really can, on the fly, change the lesson midstream, look at what the students need and revise that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And have enthusiasm about it. That's the key piece.
And tell me a little bit about, as a teacher, and I know you were administrator over teachers, how much time out of the classroom is the teacher preparing, getting ready, purchasing things for their classroom, trying to think about prepping their students for the next day, putting lesson plans together? How much, I mean, that's, the classroom is just a part of it, just the tip of the iceberg, I can only imagine.
Because I'm retired, I can do it the way I want.
Okay.
So I teach 4 hours a week and I plan about 7 to 10. And yes, that's a little bit excessive. Ask my wife. But it is the way I want to do it. and I'm doing it because this is kind of my last run.
Yeah.
And I do spend money on this endeavor that I do, this teaching 4 hours. I use my own copier, my printer as a copier. I use lots of ink, lots of paper. I purchased a Kahoot program software, and so there are expenditures that I do have.
Now that sounds a little inside baseball. Kahoot. What is that?
Kahoot is a great learning tool. It's an app that you purchase, and it has questions that are associated with a topic that you may have learned, you may want to learn as an initial lesson. And it's a fun-based game format that you can use with your students or teach one-on-one.
Interesting. 31 minutes past the top of the hour. It is 8:31 a.m. Talking to Marty Brown here on National Teachers Day. Now, I heard that you were nominated as Teacher of the Year by the Seroptimists. Is that right? You got a little work coming on, or at least a nomination here.
Yeah, I was recognized with a number of other teachers as Teacher of the Year for Placer School for the adults, and it was through our Rotary. Auburn Rotary.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on that. Well deserved to you and all the other teachers again for all the time that you guys are doing to put this stuff together, to bring it in an engaging way. I love the Kahoot thing of how it's helping to engage students. I want to talk a little bit about, there's a lot of talk about the schools, public schools, that they're failing. There's all this kind of press around schools all the time. It's kids' futures, all that. Can we talk a little bit about, hey, Marty, the public school system is failing. How would you respond to that?
In the past, it was failing, and that was the purpose of that book, A Nation at Risk. Over the last 30, 35 years, schools have intentionally sought to improve, and today, the schools are improving no matter where you're at. If you look around here in this local demographic, you find that the schools in the greater Sacramento area are improving. Yes, there are schools that are associated with poverty and they have lower test scores. And reverse-wise, you have schools that are more affluent, and those children have had many more experiences and vocabulary given to them, and they are performing better. But on a whole, the public schools are improving and have met, in many ways, the language arts standard of 50% or better. Now, you may think 50%. No, that's the measure is the average. So 50% is the average, not 90%. It's not like A, B, C, D system. In the area of mathematics, there is work still to be done. However, if you look at the California high schools, they are leading the nation in the reform efforts, and their test scores reflect it. And you have to understand that in California, you have 200, 300,000 students that are ELD students, or they're at risk because of poverty or other issues. And the teachers do a great job within a year or two getting them to be fluent, getting them to be in the mainstream classrooms.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, let's wrap up with this. I haven't been paying attention to the time. We're going a little bit over time here, but I think that's okay because I am just loving this conversation with you as we're wrapping up. And we're talking to Marty Brown. Marty Brown here is in here. We're talking about National Teachers Day. Has been a teacher, has been an administrator for many, many years. Is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with before we go today?
Yes, that your taxpayer dollars are going to a good cause, and it is a positive thing that our schools are doing much better than they used to be. And also make a point of getting a chance to go down to volunteer at your local public school. They would love to have you in there. And can you just imagine being with a little kindergartner, reading a book to him and having him read the book back to you? It's been a pleasure to have been an educator for these years, and also to have the experiences that I've gotten.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in this morning. I sure appreciate it. Talking to Marty Brown here on National Teachers Day. Thank you to you for all that you've done over the years, to all of our teachers out there, all of our school administrators out there who are taking the time to bring up the next generation, to educate, to learn, to understand, to be that inspiration to say, hey, you have it in you. You have it in you to be better and to go and do great things. So thank you to all of our teachers. As we wrap up here today, I'm going to wrap up and just say, as we always do, remember to be kind, be honest, be yourself. Remember, you can't hate somebody if you're hugging them. We're going to go back now to America's First News, already in progress, because I wasn't paying attention to the time. We went a little bit long here. I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic rest of the day.
What a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome. Hey, can you keep the headphones on? I want to put a
by the way, I sent
picture.
I sent you a piece.
Oh, you did really?
Yeah,
oh,
did.
And I haven't seen. Oh my gosh, you're right. That's right. That's why I recognized it. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put it in our text thread that we have with everybody at the table. That was fun. Thank you so much for coming in, Marty. I hope you had a good time. I had a great time. Okay, good.
I'm off to another thing. I'm off to breakfast with Marty right down here at the baker and the cake maker.
Baker and the cake maker. Well, I might come and say hello to you. What time's breakfast? Do you mind if I come and say hello? In
the next couple of minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, before I leave here, I'll walk down and say hello and give her a high five before we go. So.
I'm parked in the back here. Is that okay?
You're fine. You're good. Nope, you're good. Thanks, Marty. I appreciate it. Okay, have a great rest of your day.
My very best friend. Joshua, thank you for giving me a beautiful life and for a beautiful living. We won't let you down, okay? I love you so much, Sunshine. I'll see you soon.
It was the deadliest shooting against a law enforcement officer since 2016 when a sniper shot 5 officers at a Dallas protest. Regular mammograms to screen for breast cancer should start younger at age 40, according to an influential U.S. task force. Women ages 40 to 74 should get screened every other year. Previously, the task force had said women could choose to start breast cancer screening as young as 40, with a stronger recommendation that they get the exams every 2 years from age 50 through 74. The announcement from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force makes official a draft recommendation.
Okay, finishing now. See you later. Bye.
American Medical Association. Turning to sports.